Hello everyone and welcome to today's tutorial. And today's tutorial, as you can see, it's eyes on the prize and it's featuring the title race basically for the Premier League. Now I've always been intrigued by a few design styles, and one that's quite popular is on Bleacher Report on Instagram, on social media. So if I just check that out now, Bleacher Report, I don't know if you're familiar with them, they're like a social media news outlet. Okay, and their designers are absolutely fantastic. You can see some of the designs that they do here, and also a designer called Emilio Sansolini. He also does some fantastic work. Again, I'll link both of these in the description below. Go check out their Instagram pages, and it's really good for inspiration. And I've always been fascinated. I've always wanted to do a tutorial on something similar, and so I've ended up creating this piece here. Now, I've got to give a special shout out to a guy called Anchor. He asked me when the next tutorial was coming out on Instagram, and I saw one of his designs. I said it's pretty much going to be similar to what you've designed there. And he designed something like this, and he kindly sent me the PSD for me to have a look. So shout out to Anchor. Thank you very much for sending me that. Anchor Designs, his Instagram page will be in the description below. Go check him out on Instagram. Go give him a follow. Would recommend it. So yeah, that's what today's tutorial is featuring on. It's like a Bleacher Report style social media edit. It features the Premier League and Klopp and Pep. Now, yes, I'm aware these two are not going to be the only two hopefully chasing the title. I know Frank Lampard and Man United fans and Arsenal fans will probably want to say something about that, and dare I say it, Everton. But just for the ease of the tutorial, I've just included these two. Klopp and Pep, just to keep things simple. So it's going to be pitched at beginner level. So if you're familiar with Photoshop and I am talking a little bit too slowly or it's very basic for you, okay, hit L on your keyboard or just double tap on your screen forward and get rid of all the boring talking. But without further ado, I'm going to get straight into it. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to press Command N because I'm working on a Mac, and I'm going to work on 1080 by 1080 pixels. So this is going to set our canvas size up, make sure it's set up for pixels, and the resolution is going to be 300 pixels per inch, RGB colour 8-bit, and it's going to be a white background to start with. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in this background image. We're not doing any editing to this background image. Straight in there, hit enter, it's already done for us. I found it on DeviantArt, DivineArt, links in the description below. A fantastic piece. Thought it'd be great for a beginner tutorial, so that's fantastic. What we will do is we'll add some shade to it later on in the tutorial along the bottom, but for now that's all we're going to go with. Then I'm going to bring in this PNG file, this PNG file of the Premier League trophy, and it took me a while to find it out. I wanted the red ribbons on because Liverpool were the last winners, because it'd look a bit weird chasing the title with like Man United ribbons on. And I'm going to position that roughly around there. So I've got the transform tool up there, sorry. Okay, and on the corners it grows in proportion if you're on CC29 2018, but if you hold shift, okay, it can change in different proportions. Press Command Z to go back. So with the transform tool, I'm just going to shrink it down a little bit. It looks quite pixelated for now, but don't worry, once I hit enter that should disappear. And I'm going to drop it in and make it a little bit bigger. Going to drop it in something like that. Hit enter. What we can do is then, so we select this our background layer here. If you see your rulers, if you don't see them, press Command R. Okay, and they'll pop forward and pop out. Okay, what you can do is you can just drag in a guide, drop it in, then we'll go back to our Premier League trophy, press Command T for transform tool, and then we can just tap on our keyboard and centralize it, and it makes it look a lot more neater. Now that does look a bit off, so I'm just going to do it by sight. We'll go for something like that and hit enter. And press Command H to get rid of that guide if you don't want it on there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some light and shade. So I'm going to change how this looks. So I'm going to create a new layer. It's going to pop up above it because I've got the Premier League trophy selected there. The new layer pops up above it. Now I'm going to clip this layer. So what this means is when I clip it, it's going to work. When I paint on, it'll only directly affect the layer underneath, which will be the trophy. So I'm going to hold Alt on my keyboard, I'm going to hover between the layers till this icon pops up, I'm going to hit enter. Okay, alternatively what you can do is right click and just click create clipping mask. Fantastic, and just to make things easier, I call that Prem Trophy. Okay, I've got white and black selected here, and first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the shade, so I'm going to click this little arrow here, where you can press X on your keyboard and it swaps the colours over. I'm going to go for black first. I'm going to hit B on my keyboard as well from a brush tool. Okay, if you don't see it, just hold down if you've got the pencil tool selected and select brush tool. And the flow, I'm going to start at about 20%, see how we get on. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit, and I'm just going to hold shift off to the side. I'm just going to paint across a bit of shade, lower it down a little bit, and again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same layer, and you can see the difference we've made. Okay, I'm going to press X on my keyboard, flick to white. Okay, we've still got 20 selected. Might be a little bit too strong, so I'll bring the flow down to about 15. Okay, still got the soft brush tool selected, sorry. So select a soft round brush tool. I'm just going to paint along the top there on those little knobbly bits on top of the crown. Okay, so this is where it's worth taking your time. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to paint some lines on, so just on there, paint some lines. And any highlights, I'm going to accentuate them just by giving that light. And we're going to have a light source at the top of the image when we've finished. And again, I'm just going to paint on there. It's just exaggerating the light. That's the word I'm looking for. Exaggerating on the ribbons as well. Okay, if you do make a mistake, press Command Z on your keyboard. It'll take you back. So it's a little bit too strong for my liking, so I'm going to drop that down to 10, maybe a little bit lower. Okay, I'm not keen on how that's looking. So what you can do is you just drop the flow down. So what I'll do is, it looks a bit better. I'm going to speed it up now. I'm going to add some more highlights. Take your time with this. You'll see what I'll do, and I'll talk about it in a second. And I'm going to add some shading, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so you can see the difference we've made there. Okay, spent a little bit of time. I didn't go OTT on it like I did on the previous one. Okay, but again, you can see the difference we've just made. The key thing with a lot of the edits that I see when it comes to like this sort of style is it's over exaggerated with the shadows. So for now, that's okay, but you can see the difference we've made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the Premier League trophy layer. I'm going to right click. I'm going to convert that to a smart object. So when you convert something to a smart object, it basically means you can go back in and edit it in layman's terms. So create it to a smart object. I'm going to go to filter. I'm going to go down to blur and then Gaussian blur. And I'm going to give it a blur of 4 pixels. So 4 pixels. And just that a little bit too strong maybe. We'll go with 2. We'll go with 2 for now. And we'll see how we get on. So how we're doing it is we're utilising the light and the focus. So the light of the image, and then the shadows and the colour that we've created there. So that's looking fantastic. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back down and select the background layer. So when I drop in Pep and Klopp, they will be below the Premier League trophy. So I'll bring in Pep from here. Let my computer load for a second. And I'm just going to size him up, and I want him somewhere around there. However, take your time. I want him behind the trophy so we've got that sense of depth. And I got this image of Klopp, but what I did is I've already pre-cut him out and he's good to go. So I'm going to hit V on my keyboard. So use the pen tool. If you're not too comfortable with the pen tool, okay, you can just mask around there as it is a beginner. However, what I would recommend is going away, spending half an hour learning the pen tool. There's loads of tutorials on YouTube. You utilise that pen tool, learn it, and then it's in the bag then basically, and you've got another skill on Photoshop that's very important. I digress though, so I'm going to bring in Klopp. So they're both quite tall gentlemen, so I'm going to press Command T to bring up the transform tool, and both about the same size, I think. I think that looks okay. So they're both looking at the trophy. I'm going to just bring Klopp out a little bit. So his leg and trainer is still behind the trophy, and likewise with Pep. So that's looking fantastic. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll start with Jurgen, so I'm going to call that Klopp, and then Pep. So I've got Pep from footyrenders.com, a great source for PNG files. Again, link will be in the description below. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shadow. So this is roughly how I go about creating shadow. So I'm going to duplicate him, and I'm going to select the bottom layer. I'm going to convert that into a smart object. I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation. Okay, on my laptop it crashes if I use this slider, so I'm just going to type it in here, -100, and click OK. And then when I get rid of the Pep above, you see it's completely blacked out. So make sure you've still got the black version of Pep. I'm going to press Command T. And for my transform tool, I'm going to right click, I'm going to select Distort. And before I do any of that, I'm just going to hide the Prem trophy and just get rid of it there. Sorry. Command T, right click and Distort. Okay, and I'm just going to drag the shadow down and go for something like that. Maybe a little bit longer, so just drag it out a little bit and hit enter. Now you see it's not quite lined up, so I'm going to hit V for my move tool on my keyboard, and I'm just going to put it underneath his feet. Now you'll notice before we do anything else, you can see a little bit of grass, and we want to get rid of that. So select your Pep layer, go to Layer Mask, so we're going to work non-destructively now. Black selected, hit B from brush tool, bring the flow up to about 20-30%. Okay, and what we're doing here is just going to hide those pixels. Something like that to help him blend in. Just get rid of the that little bit of green, and Command 0. Yeah, happy days. So that's got rid of there. So go back to the shadow layer. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select Soft Light for my blend mode. Select Soft Light there, and I'm going to mask away so it's stronger, closer to Pep as it would be in real life. So I'm going to select this layer mask icon at the bottom. Make sure this little window is selected here. Now I'm going to go to my gradient tool by pressing G or selecting it. Make sure you've got black and white selected up here. Nice solid colours from the basics drop down menu, black and white, click OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag up to about there. And if you're not happy, just go again. Something like that. Okay, I'm happy with that. What I'm also going to do now is I'm going to blur that as well. So it's already a smart object, so I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and we'll go with 3 pixels. That looks okay. Now if you want to increase the strength of it, what you can do is you can duplicate that layer by either dragging it down onto the new layer icon there, or press Command J, and you can see it's duplicated in size. However, what I will do is I will reduce the opacity down to 1/4, down to about 25%. So you can see it has been strengthened. So there is our initial shadow with Pep, and I'm going to do the same with Jurgen Klopp. So I'm going to duplicate him, select the bottom layer, convert it to a smart object, go to Image, Adjustments, Hue Saturation, Lightness, -100, click OK. I'm going to press Command T for my transform tool. I'm going to right click and select Distort. I'm going to drag down to something like that. So I'm looking at the waist, pretty much in line, hit enter. and hit V on my keyboard for my move tool and just move the shadow up underneath Jurgen's feet. Command 0 to bring it back. Change the blend mode to soft light. Go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, 3%. Well, yeah, that looks okay at 3%. May want to choose something a little bit different. Okay, I'm going to add a layer mask, gradient tool, and I'm just going to drag up to something like that. And with Jurgen's, I don't feel the need to duplicate it there and reduce it, so I'm happy with how it looks. So when we add the Premier League trophy, you can see we've got some sort of shadow. In fact, I am going to duplicate it actually. So press Command J to duplicate that layer, and I'm going to bring it down to 25%, maybe 20. And I'm happy with that. So if that was a little bit too fast for you, okay, skip back, watch it all again, follow it along, or press J on the keyboard to go back, but make sure you got that right. Fantastic, right, so what we'll do is I'll start with Jurgen now. So what I'm going to do is select your Jurgen Klopp layer, so this one here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Adjustments and I'm going to go to Hue and Saturation. Select this little icon here on the left for clipping mask, okay, and the lightness, bring it all the way down so it's blacked out. You're thinking, what are you doing? What are you doing? Whoa, it's crazy, it's mad. No, no, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press Alt and backspace and I'm going to mask it away. So it's a little bit backwards of how to do things, but I do like doing it this way sometimes. So we've got our Jurgen Klopp layer, we've added a hue saturation layer, we've dropped the brightness right down, but on the little masking window, what we've done is pressed Alt and backspace and we've filled it with black. Now, here's the magic. When I press X on my keyboard and make the palette white, hit B on my keyboard for the brush tool. If you'll notice, it's a little bit exaggerated. If you notice, I'll mask it away now, and it pops on there, so press Command Z and come out of there. One thing I have forgot to do though is just mask out his arms there, so on the Jurgen Klopp layer, just going to mask away his arms, bring that right up. Make sure I've got black selected. Yeah, that'll do. Apologies, so yeah, go back to this hue saturation layer there, and I'm going to come out, and what I'm going to do is make sure I've got white selected over here. Brush tool, I'm going to start at 20% flow, so I like to use the flow rather than the opacity, and I'm just going to paint on his feet, so I'll start down low. Again, if it's too strong or anything, press Command Z, come back, so the base of his feet is going to be particularly dark, and then up his legs, so he's got quite a few shadows on there already. So that's part of the design style that I like, is the over exaggeration of the shadow, and it lends itself quite well on this image of Jurgen Klopp. So just the natural dark bits just for now. I'm just going to give it a rough once over. You can see the difference we've made there straight away just by doing those few things. Now what you can also do is, once you've done that, just exaggerate it a little bit more. Okay, all these creases on his clothes, I'll bring my flow down to 10% now. Okay, you can just exaggerate them by going over them. So just like so. So go through, oh, apologies, go through every crease, okay. Really, really take your time with this. But for the purpose of the tutorial, okay, I'll just go, quickly just do a couple to show you the effect that I'm looking for. Yeah, underneath his cap as well, it's going to be naturally dark. Yeah, happy days. So then you can see the effect that we've gone for. I do really like that effect. However, what we're going to do now is select the Jurgen Klopp layer. Click a new layer, so it's already clipped, everything should be okay. So now you should have a new layer between your hue saturation and your layer there. X on my keyboard for my white, and I'm just going to add the brightness, so maybe along the top of his shoes, even though they're already white. But what you can also do is, it's too strong, so I'm going to bring that down to 3 maybe. I think it might be too strong as well. No, that's okay. So again, it's just over exaggerated, and you're just basically accentuating the highlights, and especially his shoulders as well, because we're going to have keep changing. So I'm using the bracket keys on my keyboard there to grow and decrease the size, and then go along there, all that sort of good jazz. So there, just accentuating all these lines, and yeah, it looks fantastic when it's done. So I'll probably say that's probably about 50% done, but I'm going to move on for the purpose of the tutorial. But you can see the effect we've gone there. So if we go back to here, let this load a second. You can see the difference we've made there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do exactly the same for Pep Guardiola. So select Pep, adjustment layer, hue, saturation, make sure it's clipped, drop the lightness right down, make sure you've got the little window selected. Now it's the background colour, so I'm going to press Command Backspace to fill it, gets rid of it, got my brush tool selected. Okay, I'm going to bring my flow up to about 20. On his feet, underneath his feet. And I noticed on the Pep Guardiola one it is a little bit too strong, 20, so I'm going to start at about 10. So each image is different, so if you've got a different player, okay, things are going to be different. And I'm just going to accentuate the shadows just there. Something along those lines. Underneath there, his waistcoat done. Not happy with that. Underneath his face, yep. So again, all these little creases, do all those, but for the purpose of the tutorial, I'm going to move on. So remember, select the next Pep layer, new layer underneath, still got white selected. Okay, we're at 10% flow, that's okay. On his head, done his shoulders, his forearms, you can go around the outside of him, and all these little creases as well. Okay, if it's too strong, drop the flow down. So hope you get that and you have some success, and it works quite well. So I'm going to come out. So that's the look that we're going for with that. So you can see the difference I've made, especially with the Jurgen Klopp layer, how good it's looking. So really take your time with the shading and make it stand out, because that's like kind of the selling point of the whole image. So we've got eyes on the prize. Okay, what we're going to do now is I'm just going to go back to the background layer. I'm going to select a new layer there. I'm going to clip it. Okay, hit X on my keyboard, select black. I want a nice big brush tool. Go with 5, 6, maybe a little bit stronger. Try 15. Yeah, I'm just going to paint on a shadow there. You see the difference we've made. If it is a little bit too strong, just drop the opacity down a little bit. And then I'm going to come all the way to the top, select a new layer. I'm going to hit I on my keyboard for the eyedropper tool, and we've got this colour selected here. So just select a colour from the brightness, doesn't really matter which one. Hit B again for your brush tool. Okay, and you can see we're just growing it there. We've still got the flow at 15, that's fine. And then if you want, just move that up a little bit using my keyboard. So that's looking great so far. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to press, in fact no I'm not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for a colour lookup adjustment layer. I'm going to come down on, what did I use? I think I used, is it full colours? Let's go have a look. So colour lookup, it was edgy amber. So I'm going to change that there, double click that icon, go to edgy amber, there you go, one below. I'm going to change the blend mode to soft light, and I'm going to reduce the opacity down to 20%. So again, have a little play around with those, see which ones you may like or prefer. I press Command Shift Alt and E. That creates a stamp visible layer. To finish this off, convert that to a smart object so you can go back and edit. Go to Filter, Noise, Add Noise. I've got 3% grain. Click OK. And there is our image. There's our Bleacher Report style Photoshop looking, that's how I like to describe it, image. Eyes on the prize, Pep and City and Jurgen and Liverpool, maybe Lampard and Chelsea with all the money they've been spending. Who do you think's going to win the Premier League? Let me know in the description below, and we'll argue it out. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, and if you've not subscribed already and you like the content, please consider subscribing. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a tutorial very soon.